Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. On this episode, we have a cinematographer, and much like some of the previous episodes, this is all pre-COVID, so some of it might sound a little bit weird and out of context, I guess, or, however you want to put it. There's really not much to say about this. It's pretty straightforward. So, there's a lot of information here. If you're into this kind of career, it's really cool. If you're not, it's just kind of interesting, and it gets pretty fun. So, enjoy it. And as usual, if you or someone you know would like to be on the show, you can reach us at TakeMeTYD on all social media and TakeMeTYD@gmail.com. Enjoy the show. What do you do right now? What's your title?
So my title right now is I am a cinematographer at a ad agency in Pittsburgh. So basically I'm in charge of shooting anything that we produce in-house, and also I, have general upkeep on our gear. Plus I'm basically the only one who knows how to use most of it and what to rent, and I'm in charge of basically making sure the whole production gets captured and looks nice and gets to whoever's editing it, which is usually not me.
There's a lot more involved with that. I thought you're the only one there that knows how to use the equipment.
I mean, people know how to use it, but there's a difference between like fumbling through something and actually knowing how to do it quickly and like right away. So yeah, they know how to get there, but I know the straight line, and sometimes they have to go like up and down, back and forth, left and right to sort of get there.
We will definitely get into all of that.
Yeah.
But let's for the sake of this, let's start early.
Okay.
When you were a kid, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do?
I mean, I guess probably when I was, when I was probably like 10 or 11, grandparents got me a camera and a little tiny old camera, and I think I probably still have footage from that somewhere. And I don't know, I always liked movies, and then when I finally got that, I didn't realize it at the time, but it felt like I always wanted to shoot something, so I think I really just enjoyed the process. And then once I got to high school and found out that I could work with somebody and learn a little bit more, I kind of had a feeling that that's probably more so what I wanted to do.
Now, in high school, were there specific classes that you could take to kind of get you down this avenue?
Yeah, so we had a video production class that you could only take once in your 4 years while you were there, which I didn't know at the time when I signed up as a freshman. So I'm in there with a bunch of people who are seniors or juniors who are just trying to get in there, for lack of better words, just to like fuck off and like do whatever in. But I was like, hell yeah, this is great. We get, some decent gear, which looking back on the time is not great at all. But it was just like, it was fun because I at least had some of the tools that I had or that I didn't have before to do stuff. And yeah, none of it was great.
Well,
but
what year are we talking about, and like what kind of gear for all the nerds out there that want to know the details?
Oh geez, I don't even know if I remember what kind of. So this would have been in 2006, and then I probably had, I think they had to have been mini DV cameras or something like that.
That sounds about right for 2006.
Yeah. So like, really small sensors, and not even, I think maybe we didn't have any HD cameras. I know my senior year we ended up getting a HD DVD camera that I knew or no, it wasn't DVD. It was just like a normal HD camera, and we only had one, and not everybody was allowed to use it, but the rest of them were like basically 480p cameras. But yeah, that's what we had freshman year, and we had a tape deck, and you had to offload on there, and I don't know, just small cheap tripods, camera with a built-in mechanical zoom, all in one package. I don't even think we had lighting in the studio, but we never had anything that was portable. Yeah, it's just like a camera and then a plug-in mic, and that's basically what you had to go. So, wasn't anything fancy.
Fair enough. So that's freshman year. What are you doing for the rest of the time?
So I had friends who, I did sports with, I ran cross country with, who were also into that. So when we had the time, we would try to make stuff together, or if they were in the class, I could, since I became close with the teacher, I would help them with stuff. But I really didn't do a ton of stuff between freshman and senior year, just because I didn't have the class and I was focused on other stuff. But come senior year, we had to take, I had to do like some big senior project. So my project that year was to be the assistant to our video production teacher, and I would be in charge of like helping other students who didn't know how to do stuff, whether it be editing or using the camera or like how to film stuff. So and then at the end of that, which was pretty great, because then I sort of learned how to do the stuff from top to bottom, so I could walk somebody through it pretty quickly, but also had that class again to try to do, you know, better things. So
Were you going there on like study halls and stuff too?
depends on what like I had workload wise, but I mean, I was in there senior year at least 2 periods a day, sometimes more if I had the time for it, because it was a unique circumstance as to why I was allowed to do that. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. Yeah.
Sorry, so you're a senior. You're getting a liking to all of this.
Yeah.
What's the plan? What's you going to college for?
Well, yeah, and so at that point, I had friends who were going to school for things, who were a year or so older than me. I had some friends who went locally. I had one friend who went all the way up to California. So I knew I wanted to at least try it, and fortunately, you know, at least I had a goal at that point, which I think my parents were happy about. I don't think they really understood what I wanted to do, and I still don't think they understand what I do, but yeah, so college was a thing just because also you had to go to college, so I knew that this wasn't the same as getting an accounting degree or something that was a little more stable, so I at least had a backup plan for when I went to school, but I just started looking at schools, found whatever had a good communications program, and kind of just went with it. And it was a good choice. I enjoyed where I went to school a lot, and we had some really great classes, but and I made a ton of great friends, and I had a great time. But after I graduated, I definitely learned a lot more than what I learned in school, especially like for the more technical side of things.
Well, let's talk about college there for a second. So you go for communications. You
Yes.
say you have a backup. What was your backup?
I think my backup was always going to be some sort of finance, because I understood it at a basic level just because of what my dad does. And I didn't take enough classes to have a minor in that, but I was always somewhat decent at math, so I figured that would be the safest option, because there's so much stuff to do in that kind of field, so
Yeah.
that made sense to me. I took a lot more of those classes on the front end of school than I did on the back end. But yeah.
All right, so you're out of college. Then what's the move? Let's bring us from there to now.
Well, real quick, what is the degree though? What's the
So I have a Bachelor of Science in Communications, but the degree is in video production.
Okay, so I always thought it was like the degree was cinematography degree.
No, it was just in production, because at my school they had a film program there, but it was more based in the I'm trying to figure out the right words for this. It was more in the art and not in the actual technical production side and like usability. Like we studied films. I took a lot of classes in the film program, and we studied film and the themes behind it, and why somebody would do this, blah blah blah. But my degree is more, I think, focused on the technical and how to actually make a movie or something realistically, rather than the the artistic side of things.
You mean like the creative side almost?
Yeah.
I assume you still
it was like film theory was a lot of that. So we would study a series of films and understand the themes that were present and why somebody would have made this decision for the storyline versus this, and what we thought that the movie meant, and all this stuff, versus like, okay, here's how you place a light here and make sure it's exposed properly, and then here's how you get it to look nice. So those are the two different sides of things. You can study movies all you want, but until you set something down and actually look at it on a screen and try to figure out how to do it properly, you're not really gonna do anything besides know how to talk about them. So
I remember I took a quick class in community college. I can't remember specifically what it was on, but for film, I think it was like a film history class. It was hard.
Yeah,
it was a hard class.
There are some of them that, just because you really have to sit down and analyze stuff, and it can be really in depth. I will say the one class that I did take on the film side of things, we took a 16 millimeter film class where we actually got our own roll of film, learned how to use a Bolex 16 mil camera. I can't remember the model, and we had to go out and shoot. We had one roll of film and that was it. So you had to make sure you had everything planned out and do it properly. And if you didn't expose your film right, you were screwed. So you had a light meter. You had to make all the calculations to make sure everything came out right. And I actually messed mine up, but it ended up working out because on the cameras they have variable speeds. So you can shoot 24, which is normal, or you can shoot faster, so it plays a little slower. Well, I think I shot mine at 36 frames a second, so my whole movie played back slightly slow in slow motion, but I had exposed by like a stopover or something like that. So because I was shooting faster, that compensated for me not exposing correctly. So it actually came out looking okay. Everything was just a little bit slower. So, which was kind of funny.
That's film is crazy to me. Like the amount of like everything involved with that.
Yeah, you get one shot at it, but you can practice, and that's what's cool about I've been shooting a lot of film photography lately, so that's been a lot of fun. Kind of, I had a little bit of experience with that in high school and somewhat in college, but I haven't really delved back into it recently, and now I spend lots of money on film that I probably shouldn't be spending on film, but it's a lot of fun.
Are we talking taking pictures or like capturing video on film?
I mean, I don't shoot. I've shot some Super 8 film for fun, but not. I'd love to in the near future have a project that I can shoot on 16 mil or something like that. It's just really expensive, and it's hard unless you can really have your producers push for that kind of look and that process. It's really hard to justify over just renting a higher end camera for a couple days and it still look really good, but I'd love to do that eventually. And I hope to shoot some more stuff personally so I can sort of sell the fact that I know how to justify the look and how to like present it correctly to get hired for that kind of stuff. But yeah, it would be really fun.
So what is this 16 mil? Just for like quick and dirty? Is it just
you have like multiple different sizes of film, so you have, and it just is depends on the size of the celluloid. So you have Super 8, which is really small. Then you have 16 mil, which is about double. Then you have 35, which is standard for motion picture filming. And then whenever you see like movies in IMAX or something like that, the film, the size of the celluloid is much larger. So it's 65 millimeter or 70 millimeter. Okay. So that's where you get those big, grand, expansive movies like what Christopher Nolan would shoot, or like, Lawrence of Arabia is really famous for shooting on 70 mil film. But the magazine sizes are like, almost a size and a half bigger than the stool that our audio recorder is sitting on. So they're giant. The giant film camera, the giant IMAX cameras are massive, weigh like 80, 100 pounds or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. They're crazy.
And that's nowadays, right?
No, I mean, they still were, I mean, they were still really big back then too. So, yeah.
I mean, like, you see old videos of them recording like even the news, and they have those giant cameras.
Well,
they still seem pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, but what's cool is like a lot of the film cameras now that people use have been around for 20, 30 years, so they work. Like, they're, I mean, the upkeep's a little bit, but like they are built to last. So the design hasn't changed for those in a while, just because nobody really is craving a new, smaller, compact like film camera. It's what's tried and true and what still works. So
yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
just having those old cameras. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take you from college to
go back.
Just hit the resume, and then we'll get into your day.
So I got out of school, and I ended up interning at a production company downtown, and I basically was there 3 days a week, and I sat at the front desk and took lunch orders and talked to people. And fortunately for me, when I was working there, they had a pretty busy summer, so I was able to come on set and be a production assistant, which, you know, was just somebody who either locked off set, didn't let people come in, or got coffee orders, or basically just did like the small miscellaneous stuff to help people who had real jobs on set, or just make sure that, you know, the small menial stuff was taken care of. So I did about, you know, probably 10 to 12 commercials with them in 3 months as a PA. And during that time, I was making sure I was talking to the guy who shot a lot for them, and then his assistant, focus puller, AC, who taught me a lot of stuff and was pretty great on letting me watch him when he would build cameras or tear them down or tell me what this was or answer any of my stupid questions that I had to, you know. He was really great. So at that point, after my internship was over, I would keep coming back to work for them on any shoots, and they would actually pay me too, which was great. But then I also, through working on all those commercials, I would talk to a bunch of other people, and I got to work on my first movie as a grip, because one of the guys who I had talked to a few times, who was usually a key grip or something, he's like, hey, you can lift stuff, like, you can come replace me for a few weeks. I got another shoot that I have to go. So that was cool, and I fortunately, again, was thankful that a lot of people who work here are really nice and will accommodate you as long as you're willing to work hard and listen to them when they tell you something, and not ask why right away. You can ask later when you know, when they're shooting or you have a 15-minute break or something like that. But I learned a lot from that, and then from there it was really just getting to know people, and somebody says my name to somebody else, they bring me on for that, and so on and so forth. So I did that for a while, and you know, worked up to like a camera assistant for a guy who shoots here a lot, and I would work for other people because I worked for him, and then finally I had friends from mine from college who had a small little production company I did work with them for every now and then. And an ad agency wanted to have an in-house team, so instead of hiring people, they decided to just buy their company out. And the guy who was shooting for them at the time decided that he wanted to move to New York, so I ended up taking his spot. And because I had a really good relationship with the production company I interned at, they were able to vouch for me without really much of an interview, so I kind of just got a job and took it.
So it sounds like there's a fair bit of like networking to
Yes.
get everything, like just your whole path of.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that was I'm not the best at what I do by any means, and I probably won't ever be. But I know a lot of people here in Pittsburgh, and it was really good for that. Just because like people knew I worked hard and would learn, and yeah, I just try to talk to everybody that I could, because basically everybody at some point, just because we have such a small market, they talk to somebody about me and would say, yeah, he's fine, or he's really good, and that definitely was really beneficial. So I'd say that's for anybody who's trying to get into this, is, you know, start somewhere small, or it doesn't matter where you start, but, you know, get to know people and make sure that at the even if they're a huge douchebag or something, which I've met only a few of those, but, you know, at least make sure that you're good to them, because eventually that will come back in some way. They may not be working, but somebody that they talked to eventually and brought up your name is probably still working. And if they know your name, then they're more likely to hire you rather than somebody off the street. So
Yeah, I'd say that's a good piece of advice.
yeah. And I mean, I guess you could apply that to mostly anything else, but like especially in this industry, because a lot of people that work, you know, some of them are the best, and that's why they get work too, but they also get a lot of work because people have known them for a while. A lot of other people know them. They know they're reliable. They know blah 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 blah. So it's like
perfect.
So I don't want to skip over this because I don't know why it was sticking on me. What is a grip? You said you were a grip for a short period.
So when it comes to when you get on set, you have multiple different departments. You have camera department, which takes care of all of obviously the cameras and anything you need to shoot. And then I'll just go over this briefly from a higher point of view.
Yeah.
You have makeup and hair. You have all sorts of stuff. But when it comes to setting up the lights and getting the look for the director of photography, he has three sets of teams below him. He has the camera department, which runs, the camera, and you have the camera operator, focus pooler, loader, all these different positions. But then you also have the grip and electric department. So the electrics are in charge of setting up the lights, making sure the power is run correctly, setting up generators if they need to, checking to make sure that if the studio or the location they're at has enough power, blah, blah, blah. Then you have grips who are in charge of controlling the light. So they set up flags, diffusion. They're usually the ones with all the C-stands. But then they're also in charge of, have you ever heard of a dolly? Basically, it's a four-wheeled, I don't know, we'll call it a cart for lack of better terms, that you put the camera on, and you have a dolly grip that's usually in charge of setting that up, making sure it works properly, and then operating it for the camera operator, where they put the camera on that. So
Is this the thing on rails?
Yeah.
Get a
So
shot where, like a real smooth
yeah,
shot?
smooth shot. Yeah. So basically, dollies started as they were built primarily as missile loaders for I can't remember if it was for ships or whatever. So they would have it's a hydraulic controlled arm that they would put missiles on, and they would load them in because they were so heavy. Mm-hmm. So they were adapted for cameras. So you can get really smooth fluid shots with them, but they're really heavy and require usually at least one or two people to operate. So
yeah, all the technology in the whole film industry blows my mind.
yeah, that's all really expensive big toys. So I think that's another reason why I like it. And you don't always need that stuff, but that's the stuff that's tried, true, and won't fail. So
I think gimbals are some of the coolest things. I don't know why the gimbals
just
stabilize it. Like that blows my mind.
Well, they have their purpose, but you have gimbals and then you have Steadicams, and they both serve like two distinct purposes. And they're really cool and a relatively new technology.
So what's the Steadicam versus a gimbal? The gimbal, you put it on and then it has handles and you can move it anywhere.
Yeah,
and it stabilizes the camera. Right?
So yeah, I mean, the gimbals came out when Movi, FreeFly, came out with the Movi when I was in college, which would probably have been 2011, 2010. And it's basically 3-axis handheld stabilizer that can control left, right, your tilt and roll, and it's powered by brushless motors, and you just hold it and you can basically move it around. The only thing that it doesn't stabilize is the up and down movement of your body. So when you're walking, and if you ever see a shot that kind of looks like it's bobbing a little bit, you can tell that that's a gimbal. They have other attachments that can kind of make sure that that's a little smoother, or if you're a really good operator, you can sort of get away with it. The problem with those is that all the weight is out in front of you, and you have to have really, really great stamina to support that for like a long period of time, or some sort of support vest. But even then, it can they're great because they're easily controllable. You can have somebody else operating the camera from far away while you have somebody else just holding it and moving it. But a Steadicam is all there's no electronics on it. It's all like manual. I don't know. But and that came out when it was invented by Garrett Brown, who came up with it and was first used on the Rocky movie for the shot running up the stairs. So it's basically like a spring-loaded arm that attaches to a vest that's connected to your body, and it just takes away any movement from your body and allows you to put a camera on a stick that's weighted at the bottom and the top to control like really smooth movements and basically mimic what it looks like to you when you're walking. So like you don't see your up and down movement when you're walking, but if you're walking with the camera, you can see it. So that gets rid of the up and down movement, and then the operator controls the horizon level, which is the roll and then also the tilt of the camera. So they have control over that. But that's all balanced by weights and a spring-loaded arm. So that doesn't have the same degree of control that you can get from a gimbal, but it requires a lot of skill from the operator, and I think is still a little bit superior than gimbals. But also it costs, 45, 50 grand for a really good vest, plus an operator who's trained for a long time. Whereas a gimbal you can get you can get a crappy one for $1,500 and throw a little mirrorless camera on. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to that. So if you want a shot that's closer to that but don't have the money or time to invest in that, you have the option, which is good because then it allows a broader range of people to sort of start and have the option to have cool shots like that, even if you don't have the money. So
it's cool stuff. Cool stuff. I don't know why. I love it.
Yeah. You have anything else, or we want to get into the show?
Yeah.
All right, let's start the show.
Okay, yeah. No, I thought this was the show.
No, it's part of it, but the take me through your day part is what we call the show.
Yeah.
So, what time do you wake up in the morning?
Recently, just because I've been in the process of moving, it's been later. But usually, I would get up at about 6:20 in the morning.
Something you set an alarm for?
Yeah. I'm usually in bed by 10:30, and I wake up at around 6:30. So.
All right, just regular phone alarm, or
regular phone alarm. Yeah.
All right, what's the procedure in the morning? What do you get done before you get out the door?
I'll usually go to the gym at 7 in the morning. Take a class, and then that usually lasts an hour. Then I'm back home at 8. I have now this. I'll prioritize this by saying this is when I'm not traveling for shooting. This is when I'm working.
For the sake of the take me through your day part, let's just pick an average work day for you
cool.
As you're doing what you're doing right now.
Average work day. So wake up at 6:30. I go work out at 7. I'm back at 8. Have a protein shake. I'll take a brief shower. I'll sit on my phone and scroll through Reddit for about 20 minutes, and then I'll get changed and I'm out the door. And I'm usually at my office by between 9 or 9:15.
What time do you leave? What time are you leaving your place?
8:45 to 9 o'clock if I'm really slow that day.
Okay, and what kind of commute time are we talking till you get to work?
It's about 15 minutes. So.
Okay, you listen to anything in that time?
It depends on the day. Usually it'll be some sort of electronic music on XM, or I'll be on the phone with my girlfriend who lives in New York. So.
Fair enough.
We usually spend that time just talking.
All right, so you get into your office?
Yes,
office?
Yeah.
Is there like a designated parking area? Give me the getting to work situation.
So when I get to work, I have a lease at a parking garage. I park in the parking garage, and my office. There's 2 floors. There's our production suite on the 2nd floor, and then the rest of the agency on the 3rd floor. So I park my car. I usually take the stairs down because I think taking the elevator down is a little lazy unless I'm feeling really tired. And then I walk up the stairs to my 2nd floor, and that's where I get in.
Okay, so you get there. What are some of the first actions of the day? What are you getting into as soon as you get there?
So when I get in, I usually sort of just get settled down, log in on my computer, check any emails.
Is this like an office situation, like a cubicle situation?
Yeah, we have a pretty open. We have cubicles, but they're not. It's an open floor plan, so anybody can walk up to your desk, blah blah blah. So,
gotcha.
Log in, say hi to whoever's there in the morning. I'll maybe put on coffee, go on Reddit, see if there are any new trailers out, or I have a couple subreddits that I usually check. Go to a website called News Shooter, and I'll look to see if they've posted any new stuff, or I'll go to a gaming website. Just depends on what kind of mood I'm in that morning. If I don't have any immediate work to take care of, because usually we have a general meeting at 9:45 where everybody talks through what they're doing for the day. If anybody needs anything from anybody, they'll make sure they bring it to attention. And after that is when I usually start what I have to do for the day.
What are some of the basic things you would have to take care of before that meeting? Anything?
Not really. There's not much. I'm in charge of data management at our office too for all the stuff that we shoot, because we have a server that we all work off of editing wise, but the server only has, I say only, it has about 85 terabytes of storage. So once we get done with projects, we back them up and store them on LTO tape, which has about a 5 terabyte storage limit. So once we get through projects and I fill up a folder with 5 terabytes, I'll start to archive that. So I'll usually double check that in the morning, and if I have to make something, if I have to throw in another tape for a backup or just double check, I'll usually do that in the morning before that starts.
All right. Now, are these all things that you can kind of handle from your laptop, or are there physical things that you need to put it on that tape?
Yeah, they're like, I have a physical tape deck with a whole stack of tapes and a big fireproof safe that I put everything in. So that actually has its own dedicated workstation away from my laptop. But all the editing and stuff, we all have 10 gig Ethernet connection, so we all edit off of our laptops independently.
Nice.
But from the same source, yeah.
Now, has that technology been there since you started there?
No, that was added about a year and a half ago.
Or do you remember what it was before?
So we had RAID drives. We each had a RAID drive that sat at our desk. It was about 24 terabytes of storage. And any designated product or project we had, we only edited it off there. So if somebody else had to take over on it, they had to bring the drive over to their desk or work from ours. And that's kind of the benefit of the new system, is that anybody else can take over a project if they need to. But yeah, so once we switched over to the server, those RAID drives got set aside, and I actually just bought one off of our company because it's my editing drive now, so which is good. Yeah.
Nice. I know that technology is fairly new.
Yeah.
Or at least becoming more reasonably priced. Especially since hard drives have dropped significantly.
Yeah, I mean, that RAID drive right now, I have 24 terabytes of storage on it, and it's like a dual lightning connection. I think new with all the storage, you probably pay $1,200 to $1,500 maybe.
Yeah, which now that's good.
Yeah.
Before that would probably cost.
I remember getting MP3 players with half a gig of storage and thinking that was crazy amount, and now I have 24 terabytes and I have a project I'm working on right now that's almost 4 terabytes, like just with all the footage and stuff. So it's kind of crazy how that changes. But
it's insane because we could have a whole 15-minute conversation about the size of video files. Do you know what you guys shoot in?
Yeah, we shoot in. So our cameras, we shoot 4K ProRes HQ files usually, but that's for in-house stuff that we do. If I rent cameras, depending on what I have, if I rent like an Amira or an Alexa Mini, we'll shoot in ProRes 4444, which can fill up a 256 gig CFast card in about 8 to 12 minutes. So
of footage,
which is pretty large, and that really depends on if it's a commercial project. I'll shoot in that higher bit rate because it gives us more latitude in post for color. But if not, ProRes HQ is more than enough, which will get us probably about 4 times the amount of runtime that 4444 gives us. So.
All right. So you have that meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Back to the meeting.
Talk
I'm
some
gonna get
things over.
sidetracked a lot.
No, it's fine.
We'll make this episode. Yeah.
So, what are some of the things you're discussing, and what are some of the things that you're planning on handling in a day?
So, we have a bunch of different type of people in that meeting. So we have, some of our creative directors, art directors, copywriters on the agency side, and then we also, in our production studio side, have, our photographers, directors, editors. So we'll just discuss the projects or things that we need to take care of. Like our web developers will talk about how they need the site done, and our project managers will talk about how they need to, remind this person to get them something so they can deliver it to this client. But on our production studio side of things, we'll either most of everybody, at least on the video side of things, edits. I'm usually the only one who doesn't edit, and I'll take over projects, if we get really slammed. So we'll talk about what we're editing, or if we have a shoot coming up, we'll talk about what we need to get prepped beforehand. Or if we have, obviously, something that is happening. Like if we have a shoot tomorrow, we'll remind people that we're out. But yeah, it's just, whatever we need to get done for whatever the project we're working on currently.
All right. So generally speaking, let's just take it from the meeting to say about where you take a lunch.
Yeah.
Just like I said, broad strokes, general idea of a day.
Broad strokes up until lunch. So, I mean, it for me, it depends. If we have a shoot coming up, I will be prepping camera and everything that we need for that shoot. And if we are using stuff that we own, then I have a gear room that I keep everything in. I'll make sure that we have everything back there. If I'm renting stuff, I drive to our rental house, which I have already placed an order with, and I'll pick up everything, check to make sure everything's there, run a quick test. If we don't have a shoot, I am putting stuff away. I am checking with everybody else to see if they need any help with anything. If I have something that I'm editing, I'll usually just hammer away on that until lunch. And if we're just coming back from a shoot, I'll be putting stuff away, dumping footage, making sure everything's there, organizing it into a folder structure that's easily accessible by whoever's editing it, and then putting stuff away / returning it. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
When you get stuff from the rental place, is that nearby?
Yeah, it's about a 15-minute drive. So yeah, it's in Bellevue, so it's not far. It's pretty close.
You have like a company van that you stock everything up in,
Nope.
or you just got your own car?
No, which kind of sucks. And depending on the client, I can expense mileage for and stuff like that, but it really is only like 5 miles, so it's more of a pain in the ass for me to have to go through on my expense report, expense my miles every day, say for who and why, just for like picking up and returning gear. So if it's ever a huge order, I will get, a van from U-Haul for the day or something like that. But for most of the stuff, I can fit everything in my car. For a 2-door coupe, it surprisingly fits a ton of stuff. I can fit 10-foot speed rail in my car, which nobody else at the office can. So it's kind of funny.
Pretty impressive.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so that's that usually, and I'll have a conversation either by email or phone with the rental house about what I want and talk with them. Sometimes they'll have recommendations for me. Sometimes they don't have stuff, and I have to substitute for something else. So.
You have to sub it out with stuff they have, or you have another place that you can go if they run out?
I order online from some places sometimes, but I have a really good relationship with them, so they'll give me good deals, or they'll get gear from somewhere else for me. So it usually works out with them, and I'd rather deal with them personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause it's nice to have a person-to-person contact, but also they're a local Pittsburgh business, so it's like it's good on a few levels.
The local guys.
Yeah. So.
All right, so I guess that kind of takes us up to lunch, unless you have anything else.
Yeah,
you want to throw in there?
I don't know. I mean, I'll putz around sometimes if I have nothing else to do, because there are times where everybody's editing on something that they don't need help on. We don't have any shoots coming up. All the gear is put away and accounted for.
I've exhausted Reddit.
So at that point, it just depends. I have subscription to American Cinematography that I'll maybe just read through about, these movies and who shot them and what they did for that. So I kind of consider that research, like I'm still learning stuff, or I'll look up to see if there's any new cameras out or different articles about, lenses or all this. There's so much stuff you can look up to fill the day with. So just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I came off a shoot and I have nothing to do and I just need to relax for a little while, I'll go on Reddit for a little while and just screw around. But no, I'll usually only do that for a few hours before I'm like, all right, I need something real to do. So yeah.
All right, so that brings us to lunch. When are you taking lunch?
Usually around noon, because if I work out in the morning, then I'm usually really hungry by then. So it's about noon, and basically everybody, unless you're really slammed with a deadline, takes a lunch around then too. So.
All right, now is this something you pack and bring with you? You go out, you do something in the office?
I'm usually pretty good about packing at least 3 or 4 times a week, and then if I don't, then we usually go. There's really not much around where we are. I'll walk to Market Square or go to this food court by me, or there's a pizza shop across the street that's not terrible. So, and it's close too. So, but yeah, more recently I have been eating out a lot because I'm transitioning, but most of the time I'll pack lunch. Yeah.
What is your average packed lunch? What are you getting for yourself?
That's I'll usually do when I was being really disciplined. I'll have a salad from Aldi or Trader Joe's with all the shit that you need to put on it, like the dressing, the toppings, and then I'll have pre-grilled sliced chicken. So it's usually that with either like string cheese or fruit as the side. And then, because of my sweet tooth, I'll usually have like some ice cream or a little piece of candy or something like that afterwards. So,
all right.
Yeah.
You have time to get ice cream?
Well, we have an ice cream fridge on our third floor with ice cream that's always filled. So, yeah, it's.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
Ice cream fridge?
Yeah. So it's just it has like ice cream cookie sandwiches, different types of like pops or whatever. So
please tell me you were at the meeting that made that decision.
No, that's been there for a long time because Nestle was a client of ours a while ago, so that has always been, and it's a ad agencies are supposed to look cool, so it's something for new clients to come in and they're like, hey, we have an ice cream fridge. So it's more of it's definitely for the look of the agency for sure. Like, yeah, it's a great benefit to have, but it also makes you look really cool, and clients want to work with people who
look at these young people in their ice cream refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta ask, what else do we have relating to something like that? They gave us this because we did it work for them.
We really don't have too much stuff other than that. I mean, we have a slide in our office, but that wasn't for any client specifically.
A slide. A
slide from the third floor to the second floor. So.
That's rad.
But that, honestly, we have a couple people who go down it. When we have new clients in, they'll be like, can we ride the slide? But it's usually, I get a lot of my stuff shipped to the office, so our office manager will send me an email that she's sending something down, and she'll send my packages down the slide. So
we're talking a straight slide, or we're talking like a curly Q?
Curly Q.
Yeah, right.
So did she just throw the box of shit?
Yeah, slides it down. We have a little mat at the bottom, so she'll do that for most stuff. But if it's a big one or says fragile, like if it's lenses or something, she's like, you gotta come up and get this. But
I just have so many scenarios in my head of just boxes bouncing all over the place.
It's not a fun slide if you're over like 5'10". So like it's
definitely not you.
Not for most people. Yeah. There's a few shorter people in our office that go down it more often than not. But yeah. Other than that, we really, our fourth floor is like a meeting area that they rent out, and there's a couple kegs up there. But again, that's not for a client specifically.
It's just happen to have it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yep, another aesthetics thing. Yeah. So other than that, we really don't have any other treats for clients specifically sitting around the office.
All right, so let's go back into the you're done with lunch.
Done with lunch.
What's up? What are you doing?
So again, like it's more or less the same after lunch. In the afternoon, we'll tend to have more meetings than in the morning. Nobody likes to have meetings before 11 a.m. usually, and so a lot of the meetings happen in the afternoon. But yeah, I'd say we more or less, if I'm prepping for a shoot, that's when I finish up stuff. I get stuff organized and laid out. If I'm editing, it just depends on my deadlines. If a lot of times the reviews will happen in the afternoon too, because we send stuff to clients at the end of the day. So if we have a rough cut of something that gets approved at 2:00, we'll usually send to the client by like 4 or 5.
And the reviews, meaning they review it?
So my boss is our executive creative director. So any of the stuff that we're editing, we have an edit suite with 2 edit bays and then a 60-inch 4K TV that people will watch stuff on. So they'll either have given notes already or we'll keep going through that.
I'll clean it up.
Yeah, they'll give notes on stuff ahead of time, or just look at something again to give the final sign off before it gets sent through. So yeah,
To wrap the day, and then advice, and then we'll do the fun stuff.
Okay.
So,
well, I gotta get that. I have some more questions.
yeah, I know.
Some
But
nitty-gritty ones,
that's
the
part
fun.
of the wrapping up the day. Is we'll go back and see what we do. So, back to the reviews. You say you were watching on a big
Big
TV?
screen, yeah, big TV. So usually there's a couple when you start editing. There's deadlines, so we'll have an internal review once with a rough cut of everything, usually without finalized audio or color, just to like nail down the story. If it's some sort of interview / B-roll thing, or if it's more of a commercial edit, just to like nail the timing and the flow. And then after that internal review, whoever's editing will have a few days to make those changes / make it better. And then we'll have another internal review. That's when stuff gets like more polished. And then when we finally, they'll have another day after that, after whatever notes come in. Then when we send it to a client, it's usually like 85% there. So the color's not final, but it's colored. The audio's not final, but it sounds good. And then the client will have a few days to give us notes back. And sometimes they'll tear it apart, and you have a few extra days to make those changes. Other times they really like it, and it's a few small things. And then once all that gets like buttoned up, they'll usually have 1 or 2 rounds of revisions. The client will. Once that gets all buttoned up, we'll go through the final color, final audio, make any small tweaks that people want to make, and then it gets sent out the door and put online or wherever it ends up going.
Nice. So, you had questions?
Yeah, I have like a million, but
well, shoot them off, because I just want to wrap up the actual day part of it, because I don't want to get into like advice of what you'd give someone who wanted to do this.
Yeah,
we'll get into all that. But
yeah.
So this is a weird question. What kind of file formats do you guys give to the customer?
MP4s, 1080 MP4s.
1080.
Usually at a higher bit rate. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but we don't ever finish. We shoot in 4K. We don't ever finish in 4K. If we really like the project, we will make a 4K version for ourselves. But everything we finish is in 1080 H.264 MP4 containers, because those are they're smaller containers than like an MOV, which we usually shoot in. But the compression is still good. And at the end of the day, most of these are getting uploaded to Facebook or YouTube, where they're going to compress the hell out of them anyways too. So it's like, yeah, those are the smallest and easiest to handle, and they can be read on Windows, Mac, whatever. So
yeah, for most things.
Yeah.
And then do you guys keep the project files you use too, or do
yeah,
you just
we keep
one
everything.
Final rendered?
No, we keep
everything?
if we keep every version from like rough 1 to rough 15, and then like sometimes there's final edits that go through versions 1 through 5 too. So we keep every single iteration from that too. It doesn't really, those final export files don't take up a ton of room, so it really doesn't make sense to delete them. And then if you ever need to go back to like see when something was changed, you can see, step by step how something changed too.
And not to just to touch on this, how do you go about organizing files? Because I know it can be very difficult.
So when we start a new edit and I'm getting ready to dump footage, we have a program that was written that we type in our client name, the job number, the title of the project. And then what it does is it creates I think it's like 7 or 8 file structure, and like in file 1 is our project file. So that's where any of our Premiere Pro files live, our After Effects files, our whatever. Everything's in folder 1. Then folders 2 and 3 are source footage, which is everything straight out of the camera. Raw or otherwise goes in there. And then if we ever need to transcode anything for proxy files or smaller files to edit with, that goes in the transcoded footage folder. Then we have source graphics, which would be like text from our art directors that need placed in there. Then you have rendered graphics, which would be like any sort of animation we do with the graphics, stuff like that. Then you have audio is in there somewhere at some point. There's an audio. I don't know. Sound isn't my thing. There's an audio thing in there where we put music / the audio we recorded during the interviews. And then there's a rough exports folder where all the roughs go. Then there's a final exports folder. And then if there's also photography, on that gets put in its own separate folder where our photographer puts all of his raw files and edits and final deliverables and stuff like that.
And you said this is a program that does that for you?
Yeah, so we have one of the guys who used to work with us wrote a program that allows us to do that. So that way we don't have to create the files every time.
Does it just create? It just creates the file format and that's it, and then
it creates the folder structure and it starts a Premiere Pro project for us that has bins very similar to the whole folder structure on the IO whatever. Mac.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, so that keeps everything organized and everything's the same each time through. And then in our so on our server it says that's our project server. Then it also is organized by like name and date, so you can see like oldest projects to newest projects, and that's how everything is organized there.
Got
anything else?
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah.
If something pops up, feel free to spit it out. All right. So, what time around are you wrapping up your day?
So on a normal day where I don't have, it's not like crazy hours worked, I'm usually out by 5:30, 6 maybe. And that's just because, I don't live too far away, so I'm usually home by 6:15, 6:30.
That's not bad. What is there some things that you need to wrap up at the end of the day? Is there anything you have to?
If I prep gear and we're coming to pick it up in the morning, I usually leave it on our studio floor, organized and like ready to just walk out to the cars. Make sure our gear room's locked because that's where most of our stuff is kept. Though stuff gets left out by other people that's worth a lot of money, and fortunately our cleaners don't steal anything, so that's good. But I don't know. I just make sure I don't leave too much crap on my desk. If I'm rendering something, I'll usually just leave that running. But if not, I just put my computer to sleep and grab my bag and walk on out.
So you keep there's a computer there, or you leave?
Yeah. So I
sometimes.
I have a work laptop, a MacBook Pro. And I bought an slightly older MacBook Pro off of my company that I have as my personal laptop, but then my work one just stays there. Okay. So it's hooked up to an external monitor and then our 10 gig Ethernet connection, and yeah.
And so, just to touch on this too, because I don't want to go too in depth, but how do you go about organizing the equipment? Like, is there a checkout sheet?
No. I mean, it's kind of good and bad, but like I know where everything goes, and nobody really ever goes back there, so. I know what's missing and what's not usually. Yeah, we really don't have a checkout thing. Like some of the stuff that's back there is my own personal stuff too that I rent out to our company. So I'll keep that stuff back there too. But no, there's no checkout sheet. Everything we have a whole cabinet that's organized. I have a workbench where I keep tools and stuff with chargers on top of that for all of our batteries. But yeah, everything we had when we first started it, we just sort of talked with each other about how we would organize it. So if somebody needs to come back there, they should know where something is. But people will take stuff and not put it back in the right place. So then if somebody else is looking for it, they're like, where the hell is this? And I'm like, all right, well, let's ask around first. So, but yeah, no checkout sheet or anything like that.
And how many people are there in the whole organization?
So for our production team, there's 4 of us on the video side of things. There's 2 photographers, there's our producer, and we have a studio director, which he sort of organizes how we market ourselves and sort of reaches out to new people and tries to get us work and stuff like that. So. And
then you also have like the other teams too?
So the agency is above us, so that's where all of our account people are, our creative directors, art directors, copywriters.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty...
Producers for the agencies, owners, finance people, our IT guy who's also our sound mixer too, because he used to do that before he became an IT guy, so... Yeah. He's
not on your floor? He's up on the
No, I wish he was on our floor because he's a super cool guy.
He's probably troubleshooting everyone's email.
Yeah, and he always comes down when he needs to vent with us, and so we always say if you came down here, less people would come to you with problems because they don't want to walk down the stairs and they'll be forced to figure it out themselves. But
take the
slide. He stays up there. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about. I mean, it's probably not going to be that different, but the commute on the way home.
Yeah, honestly, I come 2 different ways. So coming in, is a different way than I go home, just because of the traffic patterns. I've found out it's easier to do that over from being there for 3 years. So the commute, I don't know. Sometimes it's awful, sometimes it's not. I'll usually I'll usually listen to music, or I'll call like my dad, or just because my girlfriend's usually still working, because their hours are different in New York versus Pittsburgh.
Same kind of deal with the music, though.
Same music. I don't usually listen to a lot of podcasts just because it's a shorter commute than not. But yeah, same kind of music usually. Yeah.
You said that they have different work hours in New York?
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't usually get in until 10 o'clock, but she doesn't leave until 7 usually. So,
okay, so
people
is it
start
pretty
later.
Standard up there, then?
Yeah, it's pretty standard. People come in later, they work later.
All right, so you get home around when?
I'd say between 6 and 6:30, depending on when I leave. Sometimes I'll get home before 6, but it's usually between 6 and 6:30.
Now, generally speaking, on like a work day, what are you getting done in that free time you have, from getting home to getting to bed?
So I'll usually make my meals early in the week, so I don't have to cook or do anything. If I'm being honest, if I get home a little early and I'm eating dinner, I'll usually just put on HGTV and watch a couple episodes of whatever the hell's on. Hopefully House Hunters, because it's a little mindless. But I know I take freelance work sometimes, so if I'm doing some editing, I'll put in a couple hours of work. If I'm not doing that, then I'll play video games or watch a show or something like that. I like to work out in the morning, so I don't have to do that after I get home, so I can just sit around and do whatever I want. So,
gotcha.
And sometimes I'll go see a movie too. I like to go to the movies at least once a week, so if I'll usually find a showtime at 7 or 8 o'clock, and I'll go then, usually by myself, but
nice. Sometimes
with other coworkers or stuff like that.
So dinner, what are you doing for dinner?
That it's more recently it's been I'll buy good frozen meals usually. So like
define good frozen
meals.
Meals.
Like Trader Joe's has like good Indian meals that are easy to heat up.
Yeah.
And like I don't eat those a lot because it's obviously a lot of salt. But I don't know. I've been lazy recently. When I'm good, I'll have pre-grilled chicken or some sort of red meat and rice and something like that. Or I'll go through a phase where I want to eat pasta, and I'll just have a bunch of pasta that week. So it really I'm not consistent with what I eat, which isn't good. But yeah, every now and then I'll go to a bar close to where I live that has really cheap William Penn. They have good specials usually, so I'll spend $6 or $7 and get a lot of bar food for a good price. So
that's not bad.
Yeah.
So what time are you going to bed?
Between 10 and 10:30. If I'm up past 10:30, that's late for me.
Okay. Now, do you have any specific sleep rituals that help you get to sleep?
I always have. This is gonna sound weird, but because I'll usually take an allergy pill or something before I go to bed. So I have like half a glass of water, and that's it's always that. Oh. So that's really my only.
No, I mean that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah. Now, just to fully wrap this part up, do you have any advice for someone who would want to get into this field?
I mean, yeah, I guess I have a few pieces. I guess I'd start off with one. I don't think it's necessary to go to school for this. Like if you find people working in the industry and you show that you're committed to like learning and working for free or little money for a little while, you can learn a lot by just putting yourself in that situation. But if you do go to school, I guess it's a lot of in both situations too. It's a lot of who you get to know. Networking is a really big part, especially if you're in a smaller market. But even if you are in a bigger market too, that person who you get to know at first has their own network, and then those people have their own network. So it's just, a lot of it is who you know. I know people who are really good starting out who aren't doing this anymore because they didn't really succeed or gave up a little early or something like that. So,
so it's really put yourself out
yeah,
there.
put yourself out there, and then also just shoot a lot. Like, you don't have to, if you want to learn how to direct, find your own things to direct and make a couple crappy things before you kind of figure out how to do. Send your stuff to people and have them give their opinion and take the negative feedback and look at your old stuff and like see what was different from that versus what you're doing now to see how you've grown and find other people's stuff who you really like and try to mimic that. Like, try to recreate what they did because you'll sort of like figure out the process that way too. So, you know, find what you like or find people that you like and try to talk to them or like I said, recreate what you like. You know, do a lot of your own research and kind of figure it out too if you don't have somebody to, because there's so much stuff out there now that you can learn from. It's crazy. But just putting in the time and work, because it doesn't come right away. You know, it takes a little time.
Yeah. So stick with it. So
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
With it.
I don't know. That's kind of a cliche thing to say too, but
they always kind of are, but they're always good.
Yeah, and you don't need great stuff. Like, yes, I can tell the difference from shooting on an Alexa Mini versus, you know, an old Sony camera. But, you know, I've also shot some stuff with those old Sony cameras that looks really good that I still that I have in my reel right next to stuff I've shot on a Red or an Alexa. So it's like, you know, it's not always about the tools. Like, the nicer tools help make it look better if you don't know what you're doing. But, you know, if you can make stuff look good with crappy stuff, then you're going to always make even more beautiful stuff with better stuff. So
this is a weird question. Do you take a lot of pictures with your phone and videos with your phone?
No, not really.
Not at all, just because you have access to...
No, it's not even that. It's like, I don't know. I use my phone a lot for when we're scouting, so I take like reference pictures so I know what we're coming into. But like stuff that I like to share, no, I don't shoot with my phone a lot. That's kind of like anything that I've posted on like my Instagram recently has been like stuff that I've shot on film or like work that I've produced, because especially for what I do, Instagram's kind of become like a quick portfolio of your work. So yes, I have like a link to my website on my Instagram, which will take you to actual real work, but it also helps to show if somebody's looking through my Instagram, oh, this guy can at least expose properly and like has some nice looking images.
Like, okay.
Yeah, so this is kind of what he's into and what he does fit into the aesthetic of what I want for our work. So, yeah, I don't really shoot on my phone a lot. It is, I know sometimes the camera can be great if you need like a quick little insert shot, but can't put this big ass camera there. You just put a phone in there. It's kind of like a GoPro. It's a right tool for the right job. So, you know, if you need something. A friend of mine who was shooting a commercial recently, they realized that they needed to get like a reversal from what they were shooting, but didn't have enough time, and the shot was just going to be projected on like a laptop screen. So they literally just put a iPhone on a C-stand and shot the reversal real quick because the lighting was already there, and that shot ended up getting used. And I mean, it was really brief and quick, but he was so against it because, you know, obviously he had his Red with this nice lens and all this stuff, but yeah, they convinced him to do it, and it's in there, and it's kind of funny. But you wouldn't notice. So it just depends. If it's worth it for the job, then it's good. It's good enough.
That being said, do you have any stories that really stand out to you over the past few years?
Oh boy, I don't.
Just whatever pops in your head. You don't have to think.
I don't know.
Your favorite or anything?
I'd have to think. I mean, I don't know of any other like stories off like that. I mean, I guess if you were like, can you tell about a certain situation, I could probably come up with something.
Well,
but
how about this? Do you have any pet peeves that really stick with you? Anything that happened on the job that really just like, this should not have gone down like this?
So I think one of my pet peeves is when somebody like tells me what I should be doing rather than is like having a discussion. I've done stuff with you know, one of the guys that I work with who is a good friend of mine, but he can really focus on the wrong things sometimes when we're shooting. So if like we have an interview set up, instead of talking to whoever we're interviewing or worrying about questions, he'll come over and make sure our white balance is correct on our cameras, and I'm like, that's It's not your job. Like, I promise that it's right. Like, you can see what I'm seeing on the monitors. It's fine. But, like, don't do what you're supposed to do. I'm not the one coming over to you asking, like, to make sure that these interview questions are right. I'm trusting you to make sure. It's your job to do that, and you've done it great before, so I'm assuming you're going to do it great again. So it's like, it's because he started doing all that stuff himself, so he was camera and interviewing, so he just has it in his head.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of stuff. It'll annoy me at first, but then I have to sit back and realize, be like, I understand where he's coming from. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'd say stuff like that is, I was recently listening to a podcast who was interviewing this the Steadicam operator who now shoots, and he's talking about how on all of his sets he makes sure that everybody from every department, if they have a question about the framing or stuff, that he lets the people come up to the camera and look through the viewfinder and see what he's seeing, because it helps them become more involved and more passionate. And if you can get people involved, even if, they don't think that their job's as exciting as somebody else's, it still makes sure that the whole production goes by, like, quicker. Mm-hmm. So I try to make sure that if people have an opinion, that make sure that they're allowed to express it and not feel afraid to express it, even if I disagree. And I'll say that, but, like, it should always be collaborative and not, so one-sided. Yes, people, at the end of the day, what they say goes no matter what. So you gotta go with it. If people get diva-ish like that, I don't like that. So, I'm very nice, obviously, and some, like, on sets with everybody, and I don't like people who are real dicks. So, and that's a lot of the people that we work with are really good people, and those people don't usually stick around for very long. So, just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. So we work long days, and it sucks when somebody, like, is being a real asshole about something, and you're like, come on, we've been here for 10 hours. Like, just let it go. So, yeah. Exactly. At the end of the day, we're making commercials or advertisements. We're not saving the world, so it's like, just fucking deal with it and move on. So,
you have anything else?
So we just touched on this. We didn't really go into it too much, but you were doing a lot of traveling for a while, mm-hmm. and it seemed like you've been staying more local as of late. But what can you get involved with that?
When I started, the reason that our agency bought our production company is because we had a client that needed content produced at all of these, and I won't say names just for the sake of it, but they needed content produced at all these different areas across the country. So it was cheaper for our agency to hire people and pay them a salary than pay them their day rates. So that's why they brought people in, and that what they got paid to produce all that content covered our salaries for like 2.5 years or something like that. So it made sense financially for them, and then they actually get people in-house and can start, producing. So that's why I traveled like that for 6-ish months. But then a lot of the work after that was kind of local, in studio. We didn't have to travel, and then we would get the odd jobs where we would have to travel. But no, a lot of the stuff we've been doing has been more local. We've had the opportunity to travel to some states close by, but not a ton far away. But that's, I want to do that more, like, in the future. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for to happen. So that's because it's a lot of fun. You get to see a lot of different places. You get to learn about it just broadens your horizon about a bunch of stuff. You get stuck in one place for a while. It's easy to become stuck in that mindset. So.
Well, that's a nice segue into the fact that you're moving.
Yes, yeah.
So I guess we can get into that a little bit since we're here.
Yeah. As of right now, when this is being recorded, I'll be moving to New York City in exactly a week. So, yeah. And I'm leaving my agency, and I'm going from being full-time employed with all these benefits to going freelance with no actual real job. So, that's cool. But it's a thing where I have a ton of connections in New York from people who I knew through college or people who I got to know throughout the years who connected me with these people. So I'm going in with a solid head start, and I have friends there who don't try that hard and they work a lot. So I figured because there's so much work there, like, I figured I'll do okay. So
I like that. Gamble on yourself.
Yeah, and I want to take, the stuff that we're doing now is good, but we we don't have enough of that. We've had a couple jobs that have been really high profile and have like really been great experience to like grow and learn, but I feel like I'm kind of missing that with the stuff that we're doing now. I feel like we're just kind of doing the same stuff. So I want to learn from other people. I want to get to learn from people who are so experienced and have done so much better stuff, and I know that that'll let me grow. But I want to be challenged a little bit more. I'll kind of want to run around with my like a chicken with its head cutting off, wondering like how I'm gonna figure this out. So I want to be challenged, and I also want to travel more too. So I'm not moving up just for work. Obviously, like I've said, my girlfriend lives there, so that's a big reason too. But
but that's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And what's funny though is like I already have stuff booked, but it's for my company that I work for now. So we're doing a job in DC that I'm shooting for them. So
there you go.
That's funny, but so it'll be good.
You're really coming full circle with like all the connections.
Yeah, and a good amount of them are people who I knew in college who moved up there and have become established, but I've been in contact with the years. Like I have a buddy of mine who's an editor on SNL who said he could get me some work. So
awesome.
On that show, and then he also works for production companies. And what's nice too is like with the stuff that I've done over the years, I at least know that I'm on par with the stuff that they've done, and I have that experience, so I don't feel like I'm coming in underprepared. If anything, like, hopefully I establish a good enough repertoire with some of these people that I get the opportunity to have projects that are above what I've done before, but they've know what I can do and know that I can figure stuff out and that I'd be the right person for this job, even though I don't have the same experience as somebody else who they don't know, but may not have the same, work relationship with, or know how they function when it comes to problems and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm hoping that those will pay off, and I'm betting that some of them won't. That some of the people will talk out their ass and say that they'll have work for me and never give me a single thing. But that's just how it works. So
yeah, at least you got multiple sources.
Yeah, but then I'll meet new people who I know who will give me some stuff. So it's
it'll all work out. Best of luck. I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's get into the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap this all up. So,
prerequisite questions to these fun questions. What was your favorite shoot you worked on? Without going too much into detail, was there one that was just like, I'll remember that forever?
I mean, I'd say the first like real commercial that we produced as an agency that happened on like the coldest day of the year, and like we didn't have enough power for our lights. We were shooting all high speed. It was the biggest crew that I had to handle on, but it was all guys that I had worked with before, so I knew that they would. I just made sure I surrounded myself with people who were better than me, so I wouldn't fuck up. And it was still like it was a really tight shoot schedule. We fit in so much stuff, but it ended up turning out really well. And I don't know. It was like one of the first things I had in a while that really pushed me past what I was comfortable with, but. It's what's nice about working with people who have been doing the stuff like 15, 20 years longer than you is that they have a ton of experience. And while you may be a little stressed out, you talk to them, you ask for their opinions, they give you their opinions, you decide on something together, and it works out. So I think, that shoot was super fun. And while I may have been stressed out on there, it wasn't that bad looking back on it. So it's like, it's not. I had a shoot out in Wisconsin where we got to go to dairy farm, and I got to like hang out with cows for a while, and they were super sweet. They're like big dogs with sandpaper tongues that really like big cameras, so that was cool too. I don't know. I mean, my first job where we got to travel to 19 different cities was pretty cool because I got to see so much stuff and gain like 20 pounds in the process. But yeah,
it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, some of them aren't exciting at all, but you get the ones that balance it out. So
yeah, see, that was a recurring theme on some of these episodes too. Was just like, I really only enjoy my job when I'm like stressed out that something's on fire.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's like we sometimes have to do, we have stuff that's just plain old like social videos for some of our content that are super super boring and not crazy creative, but they pay the bills and you got to do them. And and they somehow still take 10 hours to do, which is annoying. And but those, those get balanced out with like actual, real fun shoots. And I always like stuff where I end up learning stuff from the people who we're interviewing or from the places we go. So those help balance out the mundane, I call it tabletop stuff that we have to do a lot of. That's super annoying. So, but yeah.
It's like that most jobs.
Yeah, you got the good and the bad, so can't all be good, or else you'll think that the good stuff sucks. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you
gotta have the ups and downs.
The spectrum. All right, fun question.
Fun
questions.
All right. We're just checking our time. Anytime we do these together, we always run.
That's fine.
Way long. It's good though. We get a lot more details.
I like the podcast that lasts a little while. So it's
yeah.
As we were talking earlier before we even did this.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. What's your ideal breakfast? On vacation, have whatever you want.
On vacation. Well, I mean anything with, I like carbs, so a really good pancake or waffle. But I will say, I went on vacation once and we were in Mexico and I had chocolate frosted flakes with marshmallows, which were so damn good. So
interesting.
I'd say like, if I couldn't eat it every day, but like something that's carbs and then sugar related is always right up my alley.
Yeah, that works. What's the best advice you ever got?
Oh, jeez.
And these questions don't necessarily have to be work related. They're just kind of.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know.
All right, what's the worst advice you ever got?
Oh, jeez. It's hard because I can probably think of. I don't know of any advice specifically that somebody has said to me that I've looked back and been like, you're fucking wrong. But I don't know. I think I don't know if I've ever been given like. If it's going to pertain to what I do, it's to just I had somebody tell me at my internship that they had a lot of people interning, but that out of all the people that they had there, that I was the reason that they kept hiring me was because I never complained and I always like showed up and worked and like. It was all mundane stuff that anybody can do, but that I had like a good work ethic and to like just keep doing that. Like just keep working and keep like networking and keep going up, that I felt really good about, because this guy I didn't think was like super nice when I first started there, and he had done a lot of really good stuff. But to hear that eventually was like very motivating, and at least like kept me going forward when I didn't have a ton of work, or like I was a little slow. So, that was good to hear, to at least know I was doing something right. So
yeah, sometimes just that little stuff is so helpful.
Yeah.
What movie do you think you've seen the most?
Ooh, I'd say overall in my life is I would say the original Aladdin, like the animated Aladdin movie. I've definitely seen the most. Probably followed closely by Terminator 2. In recent memory, a movie that I watched the most was probably John Wick. Because when it first came out, I showed it to as many people as I can, so I probably watched it a couple dozen times.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's your biggest fear?
I don't know. I'm always I'm overly concerned that people will think that I'm like not like a good person or not like working hard. So it doesn't happen often, but like I don't like when people get mad at me, so it's like it's usually, which is a good and bad thing, but like I'm usually working decently hard to try to keep good relationships with a lot of people. So it's I sometimes it's my own fault. I try to make too many things work out, and it comes up bites me in the ass. But that's that
happens.
Yeah.
Any candy in the world we haven't?
Oh, Reese's Cups.
Reese's Cups.
Child. Finally, a good, solid answer.
We had a slew of bad answers recently.
No, I'm sure there's some shit candies
we had a
out
solid Reese's. Like, all right.
What was the very first one? It was something.
Listen, I love all sorts of candy, but yeah, there's some. If anybody ever said like black licorice, I'd slap him in the face. It's just disgusting.
No one's quite said that yet, but we haven't been too far off. Childhood hero.
Oh man. if we could talk fictional, I'd say probably Arnold Schwarzenegger, just because I watched a ton of Arnold movies.
That works.
But I would say it'd probably be like my dad or my gram, just because they were both like pretty key in like in establishing me as in like what I do and like the kind of in the way that I carry myself. So
yeah, all right, good. What kind of soap do you use?
I use usually the cheapest full body hair shampoo conditioner that I can find at the store. It's usually the Suave is when I spend a little more money, but it's always the 3-in-1 stuff because I don't
all in one bottle.
I don't take long showers. Like I'm in and out in 3 or 4 minutes. So where I don't know, other people who take 20-minute showers perplex me, but that's I don't know. That's where people like to think, which I don't. I'm in and out. So.
Yeah, get it done.
Yeah.
Someone gave you $1,000 right now. What would you do with it?
I'd honestly probably just put it in my bank account because I know I'll need some money in the next couple months.
Yeah, I felt that was coming with the move and everything.
I mean, if I wasn't, I'd probably find something to spend it on camera gear wise. But yeah, right now it's just in my bank account.
All right, someone gives you your 18-year-old self $1,000. What is he doing with it?
Oh, I probably would have. I would have put it in Bitcoin and then sold it a year and a half ago when it was a ton of money. Because then I would have had a ton more money. Yeah, that's probably right. Because then at that point I would have, invested in cameras and done a lot more stuff. So yeah.
General pet peeve in life.
I mean, we'll get back to what I was saying about I hate people who are just dicks for no reason. So, that I don't like. I don't like dealing with people who just for no other reason will like talk down to somebody or something like that.
Just miserable people.
Yeah, miserable people are. Which, people are like, why are you usually so happy all the time? And I'm like, well, it's not that hard, but I don't know. That's a different story. So yeah, people who are dicks for no reason.
People who are dicks. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Probably not in New York anymore, because I think we've talked about going up there for like 6 or 7 years, getting like our feet on the ground and getting work underneath our belt and coming back. But yeah, I hope in 10 years I am able to comfortably support myself doing this, hopefully freelance. But at that point in time, I may even entertain the idea of going back to an agency or something with a little more stability. So, most likely married, but yeah.
Nice.
I would say that's 99% sure at this point, but who knows what the hell happens. So.
Do you have a tipping custom?
I usually will do, I don't know, I'm usually 15 to 20%. I usually do at least 20. If I have bad service, it's 15, but I'll tip for mostly everything unless it's just somebody pouring coffee in a cup or something really mundane. I usually won't if it's just me. If I get a big order, obviously, but yeah, I'd say usually 90% of the time, about 20%.
All right, good. What's something you wish you learned earlier?
I don't know. I wish I'd learned the technical aspect of at least what I know earlier on. At least I wish I'd forced myself to do more work early on in college, because I definitely probably would have been in a better situation by now. But
just focusing on the technical end of things.
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe not fucking around as much, but we all learn our lessons one way or another. So yeah.
Childhood celebrity crush.
Damn. I'd say I'd probably have to say Britney Spears at one point, but out of that I don't really remember anybody who I was like madly in love with.
Nobody stands out? Nobody...
Nah, I honestly... I don't know. I mean, I could tell you now. I have a few, but...
Just give us some now, then. There's no rules here.
No, it's funny, because my girlfriend and I each have like a list of like 3 or 4 people that we're both like, all right, if the chance ever happened, you get a free pass. No big deal. Emma Stone, for sure. Taylor Swift, and people can judge me on that. That's okay.
They will. It's the internet. They judge.
What's her name? Rose Leslie from Game of Thrones, and partially also because I met her once.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, childhood, man, it's hard to... We'll just go with Britney Spears, because that's really the only one I can kind of even remotely think of. So.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the first thing that comes to your mind.
That was probably the first thing, yeah.
What's one thing you'd change about yourself?
I wish I wasn't as... I have a bad habit that I'm like a nervous picker, so I wish I wouldn't do that. And I've gotten better at it recently, but it comes up and down when I rarely ever get anxious, but sometimes when stuff kind of piles up, I'll have a little bit of anxiety, and it usually will intensify then. But yeah, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah, all right. What's the hardest time you ever laughed?
I don't know.
It can be the most recent too, if you can't think of something like
whatever pops into your head.
All right, we'll do a recent one. I had a few friends over, and we were playing VR, and my roommate we were playing. We had a few drinks and things, and we were playing a game called Super Hot VR, and he was pinned down, and he was just rolling on the ground with this VR headset on, screaming, and it was really fucking funny. Took some videos, and that was pretty great. So yeah.
Awesome. Guilty pleasure.
I mean, I eat a lot of ice cream, so I'd say that's probably...
Ice cream?
I don't know if I'm really that... I mean, I don't... It is guilty because it's really bad for you, but yeah, I eat a lot of ice cream, so...
That works.
Yeah.
You kind of already answered this, but we'll go into it anyway. What type of music do you like, and why?
I listen to a lot of electronic music, and I thought about this for a while as to why I like it so much, and I think it 100% stems back to the Mortal Kombat theme song and how much I used to listen to it, especially with, like, my brother.
Yes! Yeah.
And that, like realizing, because we had this, because him and I both really like electronic music, and I was thinking about this, I think it was like a year or two ago. It's like why I just enjoy this so much, and it definitely is like that. We used to listen to that song all the fucking time, like so much.
That whole soundtrack.
It's so good, but that theme song is just great, and it's still great. So I was like, that's definitely where my love of like that sort of techno, electronic music came from. And then I had my phase of, obviously my dad listened to a lot of 80s rock, so I just grew up listening to that. But and then like some alt rock came off of that. But yeah, the fact that I listen to a ton of electronic music now definitely stems from my love of the Mortal Kombat theme song.
I think that's the best answer for why we've got so far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You think about it psychologically, and the fact that we used to like run around and pretend to like fight and like listen to this song would get so amped up, and we were like, I don't even know how old I was, like 7. But yeah, no, that's definitely 100% why.
Awesome. All right. What's something you're bad at?
I'm definitely not great at like dealing with customer service people, especially when something goes wrong, because I'll usually make excuses for like why it would have went wrong, whereas my girlfriend is like, she's like, that shit ain't flying and you need to deal with it right now. So I'm not great. When it comes to people like confronting issues and problems, I'm a little bit better with, but I'm not super forward when I need to be sometimes. So I think that's something that I'm working on, especially if I am gonna like be in a role where I have to take control of a group of people and lead them, and if I need to deal with something, I need to be better at that. But definitely not good at dealing with customer service people, because I just think it's annoying as hell, and I'd rather just not deal with it. So
all right.
Yeah.
We kind of already covered sleep routine, but do you want to add anything to that?
Like what? Like, what was your question?
Well,
what was the
thing that popped in? You said you take an allergy pill?
Yeah.
Or like a Benadryl?
No, it's like Zyrtec, but the reason that I take it at night is because I get really bad drainage issues when allergies,
okay.
So, and I always fall asleep, and I sleep on my stomach because of that, but I end up rolling over to my back eventually, and like I'll just get sore throat, and it just sucks. So, I don't take it every night. It's usually only during allergy season. But yeah, that's...
Alright.
Yeah.
It's all the extra elaborate. Well, do you fall asleep with like a TV on or
Nope,
radio on?
nothing.
Just...
I don't like sleeping with the TV on. Yeah.
That's not my thing.
I don't usually watch like anything before I go to bed. I'll scroll on Reddit for a few minutes, but once I get in bed, I usually just fall asleep. So
that's kind of what I was getting at with the routine.
yes, yeah, no. I just
walk into a room and fall over.
Yeah, I turn off my lights, or I have it's the stupidest thing, but I think it's great. I have smart lights in my ceiling fan on my bedroom lamp, and I have a Google Home hooked up, and I'll say, "Hey Google, turn off my lights," and it turns off my lights for me. So it's pretty great. But it sucks when the power goes out and comes back on because the lights automatically turn on. So that wakes me up. But that's really the only other part of my ritual that I do.
No, that works. If you could do anything, any job in the world, what would it be?
Oh man, I mean, I always wish I was better at anything like science, like research. I always was awful at anything science related. So if I can, anything that's, like space related or stuff like that, I think is super cool. So, but I would have never been good at that by any means. If I had to pick any other one, it would probably be that, because I really, really enjoy what I do. So, yeah, and it helps because there are definitely plenty of times where I could have stopped and just done something that was easier. But and I'm sure there are definitely going to be way more times where I'm like, why the hell am I still doing this? But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I wanted to be an astronaut, but it's like when we find out that there's like we got a picture of a black hole, it's really fucking cool. So it's like I wish that'd be cool if I could did something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thanks for doing the show.
Yeah.
Thanks.